Good morning, everybody. My name is Alaa Oueslati. I come from Tunisia, a small country in North Africa. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's been famous for the last 6 to 7 years after the Arab Spring started in my country. I'm not very sure if this is working. Can you try? So this is more or less the region where I come from. This is the Middle East and North Africa, sometimes referred to as the MENA region. A very eventful region, full of events, especially, as I said, over the last 6 to 7 years, since January 2011, when it started in Tunisia, in my home country, which is a little bit to the left behind Libya. Now, this region has been perceived by many people, especially in overseas and in the West, maybe here also in South America, to be the birthplace of a lot of changes politically, socially, and culturally. Not necessarily perceived the best way, but sometimes people tend to generalize, tend to refer to the region with stereotypes and preconceived conceptions. So this is one of the scenes that people usually think of when they hear the word Middle East, especially, as I said, in the Western world. You know, someone, a soldier, armed to the teeth with a weapon, smoke out of a house that has been bombed by a plane or something like that. Not very, pleasant, not very enjoyable of a scene, but this is something that people cannot help but think of when they think about the Middle East. Sometimes also they refer to the Middle East as women wearing black burqas, walking after their male guardians, because if they walk alone, they'll be stoned to death. So this is also one of the images that people think of when they hear the word Middle East. Now, this obviously isn't always the case. It changes from country to country and from city to city. But as I said, this is something that people cannot help but think about. Sometimes they think about camels. Cute animal that does exist in the Middle East, in many countries like Egypt, Jordan, Morocco. Not many in my own, in Tunisia, unfortunately, but I'd love to see more of them. I actually took this picture myself a month ago in Egypt, and I interviewed a lot of Western tourists in the very same area here in front of the pyramids, and I asked them, why did you come to Egypt? 90% of them said to see the pyramids and the camels. So, what I do here is I work for Planned Parenthood Federation of America in New York. But I'm here not to represent Planned Parenthood. I'm here to represent something else called YaLa Young Leaders, the one that is written on my badge. So YaLa Young Leaders is an organization based in Jerusalem, and they work on bridging divides between people of different cultures, religions, and ideologies in the region. And this is exactly why I'm sharing these images, because it refers back to my job at YaLa Young Leaders. So why if we change the perception and change the idea from camels to something like this? Both are cute animals, white horses having a snack somewhere green, God knows where. Well, this is actually also the Middle East. This is in the north of Tunisia, actually very close to where I come from, to Carthage. But people would never say that this is from the Middle East. Of course, both are interesting. Desert and forest each have their own characteristics, their own beauty, and things like that. It's just that people don't usually think about such a scene if they think about the Middle East. What if we also change the desert and the sandy landscapes and the sandstorms and the heat into something like this? Snowy mountains. This is also in the Middle East. Also in my country, in northern Tunisia, very close to the Algerian borders. Something to think about. Not all the Middle East is sandy, not all the Middle East is hot. What if we change the picture of that soldier armed to the teeth into something like this? A group of young people coming from different countries in the Middle East and North Africa, and Sub-Saharan Africa as well. A group hug, something nice. But the most important part in this is that they all come from different cultures, religions, and ideologies. Their countries sometimes may consider themselves as enemies. But here in this picture, they are together to work on changing stereotypes, questioning stereotypes, and changing the narrative that divides people most of the time. What if we also talk about the Middle East as a generator of peace, as the birthplace of peace? In this picture, I'm talking about peace process in the Middle East using examples of women in rural areas who have been targeted by militia, conflict groups, etc., etc. This has been a project funded by the US Embassy in Tunisia, and it invites people from rural areas who have never been to a conference like this before. What if we change the perception of women wearing black burqas, walking behind their male guardians, into something like this? This is Tunisia. This is Tunis, the capital city, in 2011, during the revolution. This is when the women of Tunisia went outside to say no to dictatorship and participate in the peace process. Obviously, I'm not saying that people should be like this and not wearing burqas. It's just a different idea, a different perception and understanding that we should consider if we think about the Middle East. Now, my organization, YaLa Young Leaders, has a portal online called Yalla Academy. And this is how we use technology to make it a tool for peacemaking, to make it a tool to bring people together from different regions in the Middle East who often consider themselves as enemies and refuse to talk to each other. This platform unites young people in something called the School of Citizen Journalism. Actually, I'm myself an alumnus of this program. And what we do is that we bring people together to learn about journalism, photojournalism, video journalism, the media that we use nowadays to talk and share ideas and projects, and how to become activists online, sometimes also on the ground if we gather together, and make use of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, and WordPress, and much, much more, and YouTube, to tell the stories that people don't usually hear, to highlight the stories of women who participate in peace building but never heard, but are never highlighted in the news. And that's exactly why the perceptions are usually the same about the Middle East. How we do that is through interactive online classrooms, video lectures, discussions. We bring people together to work together in peers to generate ideas, to confront things that have been pre-processed, inherently bad perceptions of what happens in many Middle Eastern countries. And obviously, we invite people from many other countries abroad to give information in webinars or e-conferences about how to confront the perceptions that people usually build and construct because they are just so easy to think about. Because obviously it takes time and effort to change your perception, to change your understanding, and to give more space and free your mind to think about new things and to consider even for a second that the peace process might actually generate, might actually be born in this region of the Middle East. Now, the YaLa Press is something that is very, very famous. We bring people from war-torn countries and regions to write about things that they are passionate about. And this way they can share them with more than 1 million users of this portal that are in the Middle East, but also abroad, to share their ideas of something that they are passionate about, but also something that their countries don't allow them to speak about. Feminism in Tunisia is perceived as a bad thing, so let's write about it online and share the thoughts of feminism with other people from the region and abroad. These are the members of our organization, wonderful people who all shout in one voice, 1 million reasons to rise. We have almost 1 million members of our Facebook page, and over 500 alumni who have been part of the School of Citizen Journalism. We have something called the Yalla Africa, same story. It just focuses more on African issues, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. And what we have here as a result is more than 400 young people, 17 to 36, from more than 30 countries that share their blog posts and stories and videos and articles and cross-cutting themes and taboos sometimes. And then they produce and then generate coalitions and partnerships that bring them together and sometimes offer them positions in big organizations that can spread the message with an even bigger voice. So the message that I'm bringing from this organization that is based in Jerusalem is that we have to change the way we think. We have to question what we know. We have to keep learning and keep asking for information, because too much information does not kill the information. It's actually good, because you can never have too much information. Not having enough information is just as bad as ignorance. So culture is something that we make. It doesn't make us. So through this platform, YaLa Young Leaders, we make culture. We make people understand culture and generate culture, question their thoughts, question their pre-processed ideas, and change the narrative. Because if we change the narrative, then we give space to more freedom, to more equality, and to more justice in our society, especially in the Middle East or North Africa. Thank you.